Hey, everybody, welcome to our Social Selling for Newbies live show and podcast. We have kind of a real international event today. We have everybody all over the place. So I'm Tom Burton. I'm here in California in Santa Barbara. Brandon, we have you somewhere in Iowa in the snow, right? Um,
Well, I'm actually in Dixon, Illinois now, on my way to Milwaukee. As part of my
okay.
role as the CMO for ProLink, I get to visit distributors in really small and weird towns, but it's awesome.
And Mariana, you are in Portugal, if I'm right, in Lisbon.
Yeah, in Lisbon, that's right.
Is it snowing?
No, it never snows here. So that's not a thing for
Well,
me.
Yeah.
and Mariana is Brazilian, but she lives in Portugal,
Yeah.
and we've got the World Cup starting this weekend. So, how
Yeah.
are the loyalties to Brazil? Are you starting to sway towards Portugal, or
No. My heart's always going to be Brazilian. So it's for, we're going to win, hopefully. I'll be
I?
cheering for Portugal if we're not in a match with Brazil, but otherwise it's Brazil all the way.
All right. Well, I just got an alert earlier that it was again Brazil's favored to win. So a lot of pressure.
Yeah, but it was the same in Brazil, so not putting my
Yeah,
hopes that high. Let's
yeah,
wait and see.
absolutely. Well,
Well,
let's get to the important stuff.
yeah, let's get to the
Yeah.
important stuff and welcome everybody else who is joining us here. Let us know where in the world you may be and if you're in the snow or you're not in the snow. But yeah, we're really
Or in a
fortunate to have
car.
or in a car. Yeah.
I'm in a
Um,
car again.
that's the thing of these live shows, right? You don't know quite what you're going to get. So, Mariana, we're excited to hear your story today, and it's a really, I think, unique story. Brandon and I've had a couple conversations with you before.
Yeah.
Um, why don't we just start off and tell us a little bit about your background and kind of how you transformed into social selling, and then we'll just kind of jump in because I know we have quite a few questions we want to cover.
Okay, so first I'd like to start by thanking you both for having me on the show. It was a great honor to be here. And to tell a little bit of my journey, we have to go back maybe 17 years back in time when I was still starting with marketing. And marketing is something that from university was something that I really wanted to work with. And there was a point in time when I was around 30 years that I decided that I needed a shift in my life. And that's why, with a little bit of a spoiler from Brandon, I moved from Brazil to Portugal to do my master's in marketing management. And another decisive point in my career was when I needed to write about my master thesis. I had no idea what to write about, but gladly I had a social selling training at work. And somehow something inside me clicked, and I decided that this could be an interesting topic for me to write about. It was a big challenge because I knew nothing about social selling other than one half a day training that I had in a work related event. But gladly, and we're going to talk a little bit about Tricycle, the company that I work for today, but gladly, Tricycle was decisive in my journey even before I started working there, because they were helping me by providing coaches and people internally so that I could interview. So I started
So
my journey
what year?
there. Yeah.
Sorry, what year was it when
Mhm.
you were doing your thesis?
2018.
2018. Okay, so 4 years ago. So
Yeah.
the concept of social selling was probably not super widespread and prevalent at that point.
Not that much, especially not here in Portugal and in Brazil, which was the key markets that I had connections and things like this. When I started, I had like 300 connections on LinkedIn. I didn't have a lot of reach. I didn't have a lot of voice. So it was very challenging for me to, okay, how am I going to approach senior people that have been working with social selling maybe for 5 to 8 years and make them agree to talk to me and be interviewed by me, a person that knows nothing about a topic that, and start trying to interview them for a master thesis. But I have to say that one thing that I really like about social selling is that I feel like we are all a big group Everyone that talks about social selling is very open to conversations. And I'm very happy to have interviewed two of the previous guests here in the show. So Alex Lowe and Brian Galicia were on my master thesis. So it's glad to see that we somehow now have a similar path, and we're all talking about social selling still.
So, Mariana, what was the draw that you had around social selling, especially in 2018? Like, what did you see that got you excited about this topic?
I saw a new way of marketing. So I was really focused on marketing, but I felt like there was lacking a human side of it. And when we are talking about social selling, for me, it's a lot about building relationships based on trust, and it will be long-lasting ones. So I felt like marketing was trying to push too much, and sales as well. So I see in social selling a bridge between these two departments, and a way for us to have both of them a little bit more human. So this is what drew my attention to it.
Wow,
And
that's
at
really cool.
the time, did you think it was more just LinkedIn, or was it more a platform that was attractive, or was there anything else that kind of, was a broader attraction to it?
Yeah, I think a major part of me was LinkedIn. It was a tool that I had been using very badly, I have to say, for over 10 years when I discovered social selling. I had my profile. I went there every now and then just to update my job role or a new training that I did or anything like this. But I wasn't leveraging. I wasn't networking. I wasn't trying to get anything out of it other than a new job. So, and I think it's the way that the platform was somehow created as well. But I think that what really drew me and immediately clicked is that when I started to approach the experts, everyone was so open that I feel like a safe space. And I really wanted to be a part of this. So I started really slow, and then things went through this journey.
Mariana, I want to go back to what you said about that kind of where sales and marketing could overlap and making it be more personal, as I like to say, making it more human.
Mm-hmm.
You use the words marketing was more pushing and
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't as relational. Can you expand upon that a little bit? Because I think you're spot on with where social selling lies in that salespeople need to do more marketing activities.
Mm-hmm.
And from the marketing side, they would need to do more selling, which for me is more relational, connecting, building
Yeah.
rapport. And I think that's where they come together. But can you explain a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
to people what you saw and what you mean by that?
Yeah, one thing that I was feeling after been working with marketing for over a decade is that marketing was trying to push a message, and it was too much focus on the brand itself. We have the best solutions, we have the best products, we are da da da. And I didn't feel like this was the best way for us to connect with others.
Mm,
So, and when I think about selling, even if you're not in the sales position, you're still a seller. We're all trying to sell something. In my case, I'm not a seller at Tricycle, but I'm selling every day my thought leadership, my personal branding, my expertise, or anything like this. So I like to say that we are all sellers. And I didn't like the way that sales was pushing, I need to hit my quota, I need to sell something. And I didn't like the way that marketing was pushing, my product is the best. So I thought that we needed to find common ground and something in the middle. And that's why social selling was so important to me at that time.
I hope you got 100% on your thesis because you are spot on
Yeah, yeah.
with your
What was
with
your
your
grade? What was your grade?
So this was a sad thing. The truth is, the market wasn't ready for what I had to present, and my grade wasn't great.
wow.
So from I'm not. I even somehow forgot the exact number, but I remember it here. The grades go from 0 to 20, and I think I had something like 14.
Oh
But
wow. That
yeah,
you know what? And look,
it was a little bit frustrating.
yeah, I bet. And you know what? So in 2018 is when I launched Funnel Amplified, and I didn't get a bad grade. lost a lot of money for a while and tried to get it going because it was still this misconception of what social selling is or should be.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but now looking back, I also understand that it wasn't the right timing, maybe for Portugal and Brazil. But I feel like everything that I achieved by doing social selling, and it was only because of the master thesis that I had, the results were so big that I don't even consider the 14 or the whatever number I got in as a grade, but the outcomes that I had from it, it was way more than I could ever imagine.
yeah. Yeah, that's hey, it's always that way. The experience is always more important than an
Yeah,
actual grade or outcome, right?
exactly.
So,
But what I'm hearing you say, and I want to make sure I got this right because I think it's really interesting, is, and tell me if this was sort of the key part of the thesis was, is that traditional marketing, as you pointed out, has been, hey, look at my stuff, look at my features, look at my product. And then selling was all about, how do I hit my number? Right.
Yeah.
And so you had these sort of two disparate parts of the organization, neither of them doing a really buyer friendly experience. Right. So none of them really resonating with the buyer. And it sounds like the way you presented it is, how do we take marketing and what we need to accomplish with marketing, which is to make ourselves create demand for our products or services. What we need to do with sales, which is capture that demand and turn it into revenue, but then bring all of that together into a kind of a cohesive organization. Was that really the punchline of the thesis?
Yeah, the title of the thesis was social selling, way more than just selling in social. So I was trying to also demystify the understanding that social selling is just getting my sales pitch into the social media space and thinking that I'm doing something a little bit in line to social selling sucks that Brandon likes. But I feel like, yeah, it wasn't showing a little bit of what's marketing doing wrong, what is the theory that we have in marketing, and how we can bring a new approach that can bring us much more results if we do it right.
yeah.
So definitely.
Well, and I think results being the key word there. Obviously, that's why we're here. Is we've seen the results, and it is all about results at the end of the day. It's not a matter whether you like it or not. Is does it get results? So
exactly.
Yeah, and I think for anybody, if you're listening to the podcast or watching on the live, you want to look at results. Go back, I think it's 2 episodes where we talked about results and outcomes. And for people, that's an eye opener when you start to look at the numbers and what social selling does to accelerate deals and what it does to help create deals.
yeah, for sure. I think that was social selling by the numbers. That might be episode 3 or so, but definitely worth checking out.
Yeah.
So Mariana, keep going. Tell us what happened after your thesis and kind of where that, that obviously, as you said, kind of springboard your career into other places.
Yeah, so when I delivered my master thesis, I was still not working with social selling. Social selling to me was a hobby. So I was doing my work, and on my free time, I was on LinkedIn trying to connect with people, trying to get some results, trying to do things. Until a point that I decided that, okay, I really like this. I want to spread the word a little bit further. So I decided to create my own free webinar. A lot of friends were coming to me and say, can you help me with my profile? Is there anything that I should do on LinkedIn? And I saw a gap and I said, okay, maybe people are not talking about it. Let me try to do something. And I decided to launch a free webinar for my network. I didn't imagine how far it would go. And I had 70 people registering for it. I even decided to do 2, one in Portuguese and one in English, to make sure that I got both of the audiences. And then I understood that it was putting me in places that I couldn't have never imagined before. So I understood that in that moment that I really wanted to do that for a living. So it wasn't going to be just a hobby, and I'm going to start chasing this. And the funny thing is that the last 2 jobs that I have, the one in Tricycle and the ones that I was previously on, I got them from social selling. just by promoting my personal brand on LinkedIn, by doing the right connections, by staying engaged with people, by providing value to them, by being on the right time, providing insightful information, and cultivating this relationship. This is how people approach me and say, hey, we have here an opportunity. And in 2020, that's when I really start working with social selling. And I was no longer only helping friends, but also doing this as a business.
So the webinar that you did, was that back in 2018, or when was the webinar?
No, it was a little bit later. You might not believe, but I'm a shy person. I'm not very comfortable speaking in public. So it took me a little bit longer for me to grow that courage and to really put myself out there. And I honestly thought a million times before the webinar went live, should I just forget about it and say, oh, okay, not gonna happen. But then I decided, no, okay, this is something that I really want to do. And nowadays, I can't imagine a place that I feel more comfortable than providing training sessions, coaching, webinars, talking in public about social selling, because I feel like this is something that I'm so passionate about that is natural to me.
And was your webinar more focused on using LinkedIn, or was it more of a broader area of social selling that you were talking about?
Yeah, so the webinar was in 2020, and it was mainly focused on how to have a strong profile on LinkedIn. So the key aspects that you should have in mind when creating or updating your profile. And then we touch bases a little bit on the importance of connectivity, having the right network, and also talk about content, but very briefly. The main focus was how to have a strong LinkedIn profile.
Well, okay.
Hey, Mariana, so George commented on the live for people on the podcast that he said really nothing, it hasn't changed much with companies.
Yeah.
They tend to have a poor understanding of social. What would you tell companies if they're sitting there, they don't know what they don't know around social selling? What would you say if you had a room full of CEOs that were thinking social selling sucks? What would you say to them?
There's one analogy that I really like about sometimes people don't think about, for example, social selling as a big thing that they should be doing. Maybe the other peers in their marketing are not doing. Maybe this is not a big thing for me. And I think Brian also mentioned this in his episode, the case about Blockbuster and Netflix. There are a lot of things that you can be a giant in your market, but if you're not investing in innovation, new ways of doing things, trying to find better ways to do things, not only new ways, but better ways to connect with people, put a little bit more of a human side, you can be a Blockbuster, and in 5 years, you can simply disappear. So keeping up with the innovation, trying to find new ways, test to see at least if it works. And don't just try to put your sales pitch on social and then say it doesn't work. Try to really and have a transformation. But I think that one of the key challenges that we see is the mindset. Because if people don't have the mindset to do the change, then it is really hard. That's why I strongly believe that it's not a training that you do. It's a coaching process. It's a thing that you're there supporting them throughout time. Otherwise, you just deliver training. Hopefully, you're going to get someone like me that really like the topic and going to go on with their journey. But the truth is, if people don't have the mindset and you just leave them with one training, they will soon go back to the old habits and the old routines.
Another tally mark for mindset being the key thing. I mean, Mariana, you're spot on. And for anybody listening, it's, I love the way Carson says it when he's on with us. It's about delivering value and serving people. And you've got to have that mindset to begin with. And then social becomes a platform to meet people, to learn from people, to ask questions, to answer questions, to provide information and insight. And it's through that activity that sales opportunities develop.
Yeah.
But if you're in the sales organization that it's KPIs, 100 outbound, 110 outbound, 150 outbound, you're just missing the opportunity to connect with people. And ultimately it's people it's where sales opportunities occur.
Exactly. I like to say that people buy from people. So, yeah, you can have a big brand, but if I can relate with the CEO or with the director in that role or with the whole team that he has, I might go with a smaller company just because I build a strong relationship and I can trust them. I can find valuable insights in what they provide me. So, yeah, you can win by being big, but sometimes you don't. It's not
So,
enough.
we're a big fan of mindset. In fact, we're going to be having
Mm-hmm.
more episodes about mindset. But one of the things that I really believe in going into next year in 2023, 2023 is going to be the year of the mindset shift. And
Mm-hmm.
the reason I believe that that's going to be so important is that the buyer is just becoming less and less tolerant of being
Yeah.
sold and being
Mm-hmm.
marketed as you defined earlier. And I'm putting those in
Yeah.
air quotes, right? The selling of, hey, I'm a salesperson. I got to make my quota. When are you going to buy? They're not
Mm-hmm.
tolerant of that. And they're not tolerant of marketing saying, look at my stuff, look at my stuff, look at how great
Yeah.
I am. They're really losing tolerance for any of that. And they want to be working with a company with the relationship and having that company guide and facilitate
Mm-hmm.
their journey versus try and force their journey.
Yeah.
We've seen that change. It's not that that's new, but the speed of which that's changing. And Brandon, you're out on the road talking to customers and even distributors and people like that. I mean, you're seeing this, right, even every day in
Yeah.
your meetings. And I think this is
Yeah.
going to really become a big swell, if you will, going into next year. It's got momentum and it's just going to continue going into next year. I would be interested in both of your thoughts on if you agree or you think I'm crazy.
Well, let me say it this way. First of all, you're crazy. Second
Well,
of
I'm
all, I
great. All
agree
right.
with you.
Well, all
But
right. Yeah.
Mariana, go right ahead and answer.
She thinks I'm
No,
crazy too. Yeah.
no. At least in that aspect, I don't think that you're crazy. Maybe in others, I don't know. I don't know you that well to tell you.
That's with an
Trust,
asterisk, not crazy with an
trust me,
asterisk. Right.
Mariana.
I like that.
Just trust me. Run with it.
Right.
Okay, okay. I gotta go with the Hollywood star here. I gotta trust him, Tom. So
Okay.
you're not gonna get away with this, Brandon. Um, so no, I don't think you're crazy. I think that we really need to shift the way that we do things. And if we think about it, we are all the time on social, even as users. But when we think about it, are we in the buyer mode when we are scrolling through our newsfeed on LinkedIn or on Facebook or Instagram? Usually not, but we are looking for insightful information. So if the companies can find this mindset shift, they're going to be missing out a lot of great opportunities. So I think it's imperative for companies to understand this and to empower their people. Because one of the other things that it's also a little bit of a challenge is that some companies are so far behind that they don't want their employees to be on social, because recruiters are going to come, other people are going to see what we are doing, and they just want to hide their best kept secret with them and their employees, their talent. And what they are doing is being years behind in the market and losing a lot of great opportunities to connect with people. So
Yeah, and thank you for that, Mariana. And Tom, to answer your question, besides you're crazy smart, crazy good. Um, yeah, I think it's really hard for me because, like Mariana in 2018, I feel like I kind of saw a bigger picture, and I was, like even now, I'm a CMO now, and I love marketing, but I think marketing from about 2010 through 2016, 2018, we just got in this habit of, grab their email, put them into a cadence, get a MQL based on some score, throw it to sales, and then when sales doesn't do well with it, just complain about how bad sales is at actually
yeah.
selling and screwing up our leads. And so 2018 is when I think I was, well, I know I was, because that's when Funnel Amplified we started. Um, so it's hard for me to answer that, Tom, because ever since 2018, I've been seeing, oh my gosh, next year this is going to become more. Next year this will become next year. And honestly, I'm a little gun shy now, but I think it accelerated because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be accelerated again because of inflation. and people just don't have the budgets to be on the road. And when you start looking at the efficacy of virtual selling, and I'll even remove the word social, because I think with some people the word social gets in the way. So we can call it virtual or inside selling or digital selling, whatever we want. But somebody sitting in a location, work from home, whatever, laying the foundation for conversations, starting conversations. Like
Yeah.
I'm going to have dinner tonight with somebody in Milwaukee who I feel like is actually a really good friend, and I've never met her in person.
Yeah.
It's all LinkedIn and Zooms and then calls and text and messages, but it all accelerated because of social. And so I think my hope is that unfortunately we have global economic conditions that are going to challenge companies, that it's just enough pain that business leaders or sales leaders who previously have been, uninterested are finally going to have enough pain or challenge that they'll go, okay. And then the second thing, and then I'll pause. I think people like us are starting to talk about it different too.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of LinkedIn experts that I think are charlatans that are selling crap,
Yeah.
but they've done well selling crap because people were desperate for something. And then after they use it for a little bit, they realize that it's not sustainable, it's not predictable. It really is like spam email. You're just, hoping for the best based on timing. So I think we need to talk about it differently. And I think enough of those LinkedIn experts have kind of played themselves out a bit. And it's got to become part of the serious playbook for an organization. Talked to somebody the other day that said, "Oh yeah, our company really encourages social." Great. How so? Well, they tell us to do it on our own time. Like, well, that's not encouraging social.
Yeah.
Go do some of that social stuff.
Yeah, and one thing that is interesting about this gurus, LinkedIn experts, and social selling experts that we had a lot in the past, and I think that they somehow ruined a little bit for us. For example, the other day, maybe 10 or 15 days ago, I connected with a social selling expert from Brazil. It sounded really interesting. He sent me a connection request. Of course, I accepted. We exchanged a few messages, and that's it. Today, I received an automation message from him saying, "Hey, Mariana, I noticed that you want to know more about personal branding." I was like, "No, this is not interesting. This is not relevant. You're not social selling. And because of you, you're making my job way harder to do it." But,
And that's the key right there, Mariana. You're right. Because of people like that and just the yuckiness of it and the ineffectiveness of it, it's making our job. And that's why my shirt says social selling sucks. It's really my attention getter to get people to go, well, wait a minute. I thought you were a social guy. Like what are you talking about? And then it gives me an opportunity to say, well, it really depends on what you mean. Because sending a connection request and then putting somebody in an automation that pitch, that's not social selling.
Yeah,
That's socially annoying people and killing your own brand.
exactly. Now it's someone that I would never refer. If someone asks me, who's an expert in Brazil in social selling? This is a person that 15 days ago I could probably refer. Right now, no chance.
Right.
Interesting. Toxic connection, right? We were talking last week about healthy connections and toxic connections, and it sounds like that went from a healthy connection to a toxic connection.
Exactly.
Just
Exactly.
And I think it's a three, right? You have connections. It's somebody you're like literally connected to on LinkedIn. But then from there, it could go healthy or toxic. And it really depends on our behavior. And unfortunately, a lot of the LinkedIn gurus are encouraging people to message.
Yeah, because they want to grow in scale. And what people don't understand is, yes, you can even grow in scale, but if you're doing this manually and really taking interest in what Brendan do, what is relevant for him, how I'm gonna say something that is going to be interesting for him and not to me. And when we flip this, okay, I understood that he wanted to sell me a training that he's going to launch soon. and he needed to warm up this relationship. But the way that he did it, it was completely wrong. So self-serving messages is not going to take you anywhere.
Yeah. And George added on the comment here that rarely do sales leaders include social in their sales KPIs, and I think a lot of that stems from ignorance. Right? They don't know the value of social, and that's why I think our three voices are so important, and our social selling by the numbers episode is so important about, well, there's things like outreach via social. There's a way to do it right, and there's a way to do it wrong. Just like there's a way to cold call right and a way to do it wrong.
Yeah.
So Mariana, tell us a little bit about what you do currently then with Tricycle. And I assume you're doing a lot of what we're talking about today is helping companies do social selling the right way. And
exactly.
How do you guys go about that?
So I've joined Tricycle in the beginning of this year after a long dating of 4 years, connecting with them, nurturing the relationship. And right now what I do is I'm a social selling coach. So we run some webinars and trainings for our customers. We also have some coaching sessions. We help them understand the importance of creating authentic content. So it's not just about broadcasting content and putting out there what your brand do. It's really bringing value to your audience and making sure that when they are ready to buy, your name is in the top of their mind. So what I do is that I try to guide our customers into getting into that understanding and position themselves as experts and the go-to person in their markets.
And are you seeing more and more demand for what you're doing within Tricycle? Or more and more companies wanting to get this training and this coaching? Or how are you seeing the growth of it?
Yeah, I think that we have a very successful history with our customers. And I feel like this is growing. We're working a lot with the tech, telco, and consulting companies. And I feel like it's interesting because these industries are looking for new ways to connect with people, even if they're doing sales for 20, 30 years in the same way. Now they're trying to expand a little bit more of their horizon and trying to understand new ways of doing it. So yeah, I do see a growth in that aspect.
Well, and Brandon, that's what you're on the road trip visiting, industrial distributors or distributors that have maybe been in business for, multiple generations. You're seeing the same thing, right? Even, companies that have been selling their whole career, their whole life going, we need to be looking at doing something a little bit different. Especially when we combine, like we talked about a minute ago, with virtual and not everybody being face to face. So it seems like whether you're a venture funded company and you have lots of investment capital, or you're a long standing company, but all of those things, everybody's having to kind of look at how do we make that change.
Yeah, I think sales playbooks and go-to-market strategies or go-to-market playbooks are going to be scrutinized in 2023 out of necessity. Budgets are going to alter. There's no longer I got to get on a plane tomorrow and go visit somebody, and because in the States at least, that flight's going to be $2,000.
Yeah.
And so we've got to be more strategic with our use of people and our use of time. And if the three of us are right and the data that we promote is right, companies should be taking what you do, Mariana, very serious. And at least, piloting things, beta testing things, and seeing and doing a comparison. I don't know if you can answer this question or not, because I know you're not on the sales side, but when companies are coming to Tricycle to hire you as a social selling coach, what are they saying? What are they looking for? Is it, we need social selling, or is it more like we need a more efficient sales process or a more efficient outreach, or what are they looking for?
So I can say that for sure because I'm not involved in that part, but I would say that they are not being that focused on we need social selling. They need a new way to do things because they are feeling that the old way is not generating as much pipeline as they wanted. It's not generating as much results as it used to be generating. So they're looking for new ways. And there are some guys over there talking about social. So let's have a look at what's being said. And maybe this is a good strategy for us. So my guess is on this.
What words are you hearing? Like, Tom and I kind of interchange social, virtual selling, inside selling, digital selling. What language or what words are people using around this?
This is actually a challenge that I had during my master thesis, because the social selling term is not unanimous in the industry. A lot of people don't like it because of the social. A lot of people don't like it because of the selling. And I feel like moving a little bit more into something like digital selling, because yes, we are usually doing this on LinkedIn or on Twitter. But if you're doing digitally, if you're connecting with your prospects in a lot of different ways, this is also what we are doing. Because I like to say that social selling is a much more about relationship building that will lead up to sales eventually if you're doing things right, than direct selling. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and I mean, that's we talk a lot about, hey, look, nothing has changed. It just happens differently.
it's a
And
different channel.
the sales playbook, for most companies, I think until the VC funded companies came in and put lots of butts in seats and said dial, dial, dial,
Mm-hmm.
outside of the traditional boiler room type of environments, full cycle account executives were, their playbook was build rapport, build
Mm-hmm.
relationship, earn the opportunity, as we say on the X axis, be known, be liked, and
Mm-hmm.
be trusted. And through being known and liked and trusted, you earn the opportunity to talk about business. Now that's
Mm-hmm.
changed a little bit because we have to use content to generate demand, as Tom so perfectly created with his revenue zone model. But nothing has changed. We
Yeah.
still have to do that. We just use different tools. Why do we use different tools? Just because they're new? No. We use them because they're more efficient
Mm-hmm.
and they're more practical, and we can talk to hundreds of people in a day or thousands of people in a day instead of four.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing that I find it interesting is I was a marketing expert for 14 years. I had my LinkedIn profile, but my network was only focused on people that work with me. When I decided to make this shift and started using LinkedIn, nowadays I have connections in India, Brazil, Thailand, US, Canada, all over Europe, just because I'm digitally there. And people from all over the place can say, okay, I want to do something with Mariana because she's providing a lot of different insight and value to me, and I trust this person. Even if we never met, even if in the lifetime we are never going to have the chance to sit face to face to have a coffee, I'm providing them value, or at least I hope so, that they trust me enough to do business without ever shaking hands. And this is impossible if we think about the virtual without the virtual space. If you're just thinking about face to face, we are never going to
Yeah.
reach that high.
Well,
Well,
I think,
I
go
would
ahead,
like to
Brandon.
do another virtual cup of coffee with you and keep
Definitely.
talking and keep learning. I'm really fascinated with your story, and you're the first person I've ever met who did a master's thesis in social selling.
Yeah.
Good for
Maybe
you.
the
Hopefully
last
not
too.
the last. No, hopefully not the last.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I think you just summarize it perfectly there at the end, right? Which is exactly the power of what we're trying to communicate. That's, as you said, Brandon, this isn't just some sort of newfangled tool or
Hmm.
new way of doing things. This is just more efficient and more effective.
Mhm.
Um, and that's why we get passionate about that. So,
Yeah.
Mariana, where, if somebody wants to connect with you or learn more about you or Tricycle, how should they find you? On LinkedIn, I
The
assume.
Yeah, the best way would be through LinkedIn. I like to say that I'm a LinkedIn freak. I have my LinkedIn open almost 24/7. I have my app on my mobile. You can maybe see me active at the 11 p.m. because this is just, like I said, it started as a hobby and it's something that I really enjoy. So on my weekends, sometimes I'm there just scrolling through. So LinkedIn will definitely be the best way for people to connect with me. I'm there all day. every day.
And I want to encourage people when Brazil's playing in the World Cup, please, send her messages, let her know what you're, supporting or hoping they lose. And I told Mariana, I think Mariana is very jealous because I went to the 1994 World Cup final where Brazil won. And unfortunately, I was cheering for Italy, but I was there. And Brazil won.
Such a Briteo.
You shouldn't have admitted that.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I have
now.
I can't get away from it. I was geared up for Italy.
Well, and before we go, I have to also tell everybody again, please, if you haven't done already, come and join our socialsellinghq.com community. It's totally free. There's now a couple of trainings in there. I know there's more stuff, more content coming all the time. Mariana, we're going to look to have you get more involved in that, we hope, and provide more value because it's the same concept.
Yeah, I didn't know, Mariana, you had a course. We got to get the course in there too and provide value for people.
Yeah. So we need to make it more of an international presence anyway. So, all right. Well, this has been great conversation. We will definitely do it again. Thank you. Thank you, George, for your comments and others who are listening. Brandon, stay cold, or don't stay cold. Stay warm. Stay warm. Stay warm and safe. I just saw your window and I thought of.
After you called him crazy, now is his revenge, Brandon.
That's right.
That's right. Okay. That's not good. Yeah. Well, it started snowing during the show and now it's cleared up. So it's a good time to drive again.
I thought I heard a snowplow behind you when you were talking earlier. So hopefully you can get out of there. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good week. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you very much. Bye. Thank you.